morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever we are. So today's topic is very relevant as we are talking about SDG penetration and the clean cooking. As we know, or if some of you are tracking clean cooking sector in India, it's actually become a very interesting topic, especially for last few months. And this year is actually the complete year of transformations. And a lot of discussion has been started around the electric cooking, solar cooking and all. When this discussion is started, another level of discussion is coming that how to make it affordable in terms of CapEx and in terms of OpEx. So what is the means like in a country, India, which has proven that bulk procurement is the one of the way we can reduce the cost of devices drastically down. But we need to go forward and whatever the other innovative tools and means available, we should be also focusing on that. With this, the today's topic is very aligned to the overall affordability angle. And I will be starting the session saying that this is very important aspects for the entire sector. As we are talking about the carbon financing and aspects of the carbon financing is that currently and traditionally we are doing the carbon financing, doing the manual verifications, the devices are deployed somewhere, sometimes we are doing a sample basis. The carbon realization is very late, which our experts are going to talk. I'm not going to talk too much, but we are trying to bring the new paradigm on the carbon financing for the meter devices. So welcome all. So we are on the 2.7th talk series and we are going very strong. As we know MECS program, so I'm not going to talk again because most of the you are aware of the MECS program is. And so this is interesting that what exactly we are doing, why we are promoting this, and also MECS in India is actually working on the four basic domain of the policies, supply chain, consumer, and the finance aspects. On the policy side, we do regular activities to bring the attention of the policy makers in the relevant topics. So, like we did a modern energy cooking forum in 2022, that is in September 2022 in New Delhi. Again, we have scheduled the Modern Energy Cooking Forum 2023 in around mid of October. Again, it will be in Delhi, India. So we request that anybody like to join us. This is going to be the in-person event, so please join us. And then the talk series is the very interesting tool which we are actually taking care of. And why it is important at the policy level. A lot of time the officials which is relevant for the sector and working in this area, they are coming on regular basis. On the supply chain basis, we are actually working with the manufacturer. We have established that cooking is not very costly when you're having the right energy efficient devices. We are supporting the manufacturers so they can have the devices for the mega scale deployments, etc. And then we have showcased some of the innovative startups, companies. I'm sure some of you are already present in this group also. So showcasing them. Then we have as a mix promoted the Global Leap Award in electric pressure cooker. And one of the Indian company is the winner of that. So these are the activities which we are normally promoting on day-to-day active as a day-to-day activity. Then this talk series is that most of you are aware that this is being a kind of global feature and phenomena where we have about 1,500 global registrations. Over 1,250 sets of people have actually joined in a various talk series. And we have organized till 12 plus 6, 18 talk series till now. The 19th is the today one, 20th is already scheduled. So this is a very interesting tool becoming. And today's topic is very important, and the experts are going to take us through in the basically in the three parameter. Number one is the demystifying the carbon finance for the meter devices, then overview of the Indian carbon market, and third is the how to deploy the energy efficient technology or the carbon finance technology for the mega scale level. Again, the talk series is an interesting tool and aspects, and we are promoting a lot of international cross-border relationships also. So in a international cross-border relationships or any partnership, we require to have the IP protections. So we are also going to talk about that, how to protect your IP on the next talk series, which is scheduled on 15th of June, same time. Uh, this another important program which we are doing and supporting the manufacturers and the investors, that the clean cooking sector always lack funding, and some data suggests that $10 billion is the annual requirement for the clean cooking sector. However, the investment is less, very minuscule, in the 2 digits of million only. So we need to accelerate the financial support for the sector. For that, as a MECS program, we are supporting the investor pitching session, which is live right now. Some of you would be interested in applying in this program. This program is a very much global program. So any startup company from anywhere in the world looking to raise the fund from the predominantly on the equity side, please feel free to apply. We are trying to bring the good investors who understand the patient capital, who understand the capital requirement for the clean cooking sector, and they have the right sets of understanding, right sets of VC or the angel investors or even the PE and all. So we will be bringing them on a platform. So it will be easy access for both of you as investors. They can have the good shortlisted company, selected company to hear their pitch. As a user startup, you are having the curated investors who are ready to listen your pitch and all, and this will be going to happen in pitching or 2 to 3 pitching sessions, and this pitching session will be focusing on the 3 stages, which is the ideation stage, one is the pilot scale, and the third one is the scale up scale. And the RFP is closing on 10th of July, so we have sufficient time. And on 6th of June, my team is organizing a webinar, the info webinar and all, which is the information will be out soon. So please join that. What you like to hear, what you like to uh, talk about this program, how do you see that this program should actually benefit to you, and the links and all the coordinates are available here. Please feel free to reach out to us. And since most of you are also settled outside, so we have the WhatsApp number and all, email contact. So communication is not going to be challenged. The team is very agile, which is currently led by our very established people. And with this, I like to thank you and handing over to the our next speaker, Dr. Lokesh Dubey, to talk us through the entire value chain, and then handing over to the Nick to take the session forward from here.
Thank you, Vimalji. So I hope I'm audible and my screen is visible.
Yes, perfectly fine.
Thank you. So with the time that we have, let us just have an overview of the carbon finance for meter devices in clean cooking sector. So my perspective will be from a standard setter's angle. As you know, gold standard is one of the leading carbon market standards. We were founded in 2003 as sort of agency to kind of give uh, not exactly rate, but to give more credibility to quality credits which come from CDM projects. So to identify the best quality credits in the carbon market and to assign them with the quality standards was the primary motive of when gold standard started. But later on, we realized that it is the right time that we have our own set of rules on which projects can be validated and verified. So that gave the birth to the scheme, what we call as gold standard for global goals, that came into being in 2017. So as part of this scheme, gold standard for global goals, we have several eligibility principles and requirements and gender equality requirements and so on. There are five basic principles which have several sub requirements within those principles. Uh, the I would not go into detail of all the principles because that is going to eat up a lot of time. Just to give an overview that the contribution to sustainable development goals is one of the core requirements of the standards. So each project that comes to a gold standard for certification must contribute to at least SDG 13 plus two more SDGs other than SDG 13. And that has to be measured, reported, and verified. We have a dedicated tool called SDG Impact Tool that is an Excel-based tool we had launched last year to kind of quantify and report the SDG impacts other than SDG 13. Uh, we have safeguarding principles, set of 7 to 8 principles, which are applicable in different conditions, which are kind of generic principles applicable to all projects. But then there are other safeguarding requirements which are enshrined in the individual methodologies as well. Stakeholder inclusivity is also at the core of gold standard. So there are dedicated requirements for stakeholder consultation and continuous engagement with the stakeholder from beginning till conclusion of a project. Demonstration of real outcomes and which is in form of robust MRV is also one of the underlying principles, and additionality requirement, of course, is uh, uh, i- is one of the decisive principles. Um, the process-wise, any project has first to certify. They have to list in gold standard registry as a project which is going to initiate the validation process. So in the beginning, a miniature PDD of sort of form is filled up by the project developer and submitted for listing of project, and then the final validation or design review starts, uh, which culminates into registration of a project in the registry, which we call certified design. Design is certified uh, by the gold standard. It is available on the website. And after design is certified, the project can go for monitoring and verification for the verification period for a definite amount of time. It can be annual, it can be 6 monthly, it can be whatever frequency it deems appropriate. So it is depending on the quantum of credits that the project generates. And after verification concludes in the form of performance review, the credits are issued, which are sellable in the market. And at every crediting period renewal, the process of validation is repeated, and there is a renewal, which is what we call design change or design renewal, design certification renewal. So in between, there could be design change also in case it is required by the circumstances of a project, and there are dedicated procedures for that. And there are transition provisions separately, which allow transition of projects which are registered in other GHG schemes to gold standard. So these are generic requirements, not specific to clean cooking projects or meter devices projects, but generic requirements. There are involvement of VVBs and certification body. Certification body is for us a sustained cert, who takes care of the certification decisions at the end for gold standard. On clean cooking, just these are some background points. I would not go into details of these. This report has been published by MECS, I think, in the last month, and has some interesting conclusions that demand of carbon credits for clean cooking is going to increase and will depend on the concerns of credit quality. So credit quality is something which is on focus because of several requirements, newfound requirements in the market, which are coming up from Paris Agreement angle, as well as from the voluntary initiatives, voluntary platforms that are concerned on the carbon credit quality. So I would not go into much detail of this as well. It is just to sensitize that there is a requirement of credit quality which is at the core. On clean cooking, gold standard has 5 methodologies which are carbon credit methodologies, and there are 2 methodologies which are impact statement methodologies, which are not exactly for carbon credit generation but for generation of impacts. The first one, which is Edley's methodology, and the fourth one, which is on the co-emitted species for black carbon and other co-emitted species. So those are not for carbon credit generation, but others are for that purpose. So we had released our dedicated methodology for metered and measured energy cooking devices in October 21, and it went through some minor update, and we have a most updated version released in December 2022. Other than that, there is a TP Tech, which is a very old methodology now, which has gone in 3 cycles of revision. Fourth version is in place, which is called reduced emissions from cooking and heating. So I would just try to be concentrating on the metered and measured energy cooking devices methodology. Um, this methodology was released in 21, but it is now revised. As I told you earlier, this was with the help of MECS and other partners. So it allows to include or allows to generate emission reduction through improved cooking devices, where energy or fuel can be measured directly on a real-time basis, or it can be monitored via other measurement. For example, induction cook stoves, pressure cookers, which are run on electricity, or hot plates, or rice cookers, so electric cookers, LPG or ethanol cookers, and so on. And it is applicable for all types of users, including individual users at households or in communities or in institutions. This methodology requires that the minimum efficiency of project devices are maintained at least 40%. Efficiency is maintained at the project device level, and there are specific requirements on durability, that the durability should be demonstrated, and means of demonstration are given in the methodology. And there are, as I told you, that there are generic safeguarding requirements of gold standard, plus there are other safeguards which are enshrined in the methodologies as well. So this methodology has specific safeguarding requirements which concern to double counting and technical lifetime of the equipment, that relates to the continuity of the intervention that we are looking at, and also the consistency with the legal angle. So all those are important safeguards. So entire credit ownership and distribution authority would come in these safeguards requirements. A baseline scenario in this methodology is defined using one of a variety of sources which are listed in the methodology: the government publication, third-party studies, or project-specific field tests. So baseline emission factor for useful energy provision is derived with information on baseline cooking devices and fuel used in the country or region by relevant end user groups. So the baseline emission factors are set and fixed over the crediting period, and can be used in the program of activities as well, as long as the VPs are in the same country and region. So it is also applicable for UAs. Then there are specific conditions to baseline scenario, where project devices use fossil fuel emission reductions may only be calculated for efficiency improvement. It cannot be claimed for the difference of the carbon content of the two fuels, but only energy efficiency improvement is claimed. So here you see the in the project scenario, the emission factor used is for the fuel which is used in the project scenario. For project cooking devices that use grid electricity, emission reduction from fuels which are efficiency improvement are eligible, and relevant provisions are given in the methodology. We will see in more detail. So emission reduction calculations are such that they allow sampling to be conducted and remote monitoring to be used using data loggers, energy meters, or fuel meters, or fuel sales record, and so on. So, but the requirement is that fuel or energy use should be monitored for all devices. And the verification can be done using the sampling methods, and reference values are also included in the methodology, which are used for cross-checking the survey values. And if there are less conservative results coming out of the survey, that have to be justified, giving proper reason why it has significant departure from the reference values given in the methodology. Um, Similarly, project emissions, the methodology gives provision of accounting for project emissions that come from fossil fuel use or grid electricity, and zero emission fuels, renewable, such as renewable energy and biofuels, are also eligible. But in that case, project emissions will not be counted per se, but only the emissions in the project which are coming from transportation of biofuel, for example, would be accounted, and there are special consideration given to the fuel transport, and the rules of the accounting are also given, that it should be more than 200 kilometers, then only it has to be accounted for, and so on. So these are the basic. This was the basic overview of the methodology that the gold standard has, and gold standard is committed to improve the methodologies in light of the market demand. So we are keeping a close eye on what is happening in the market, on UNFCCC front, on Paris Agreement Article 6 front, as well as on in the voluntary carbon market with the new quality requirements that are coming up from different initiatives. So we are keeping close eye on that, and in the new methodologies which are coming up, or any methodologies which are being revised, are being revised or being developed with those angles being into consideration. And we have a cycle of 3 years of reviewing, mandatorily reviewing a methodology and revising the requirements as per the current situations. So we try to maintain that cycle, and if we feel it is a revision is necessary even before that, we try to undertake that. So that's how the landscape of metered energy booking devices is there in the context of gold standard. I'll be happy to answer if there are any questions.
So thank you, Dr. Lokesh, for giving that overview so comprehensively. And I could see that you're also rushing through things in the interest of time. There are a lot of questions on the chat, but in the interest of time, I will move on with the session, and we'll try and answer the questions towards the end of the session. So we
Yeah.
will bring you in again. So with this, we will now move on to the next session, which is the panel discussion. And for that, I will invite Dr. Nick Russo, who's the International Liaison Manager for MECS program. Nick holds BA, MSc, and PhD degrees in psychology from universities of Cambridge, Loughborough, and Sheffield, with a focus on psychology and user-centered system design. And he holds 20 years of experience of working in UK government, with his final role as the head of international innovation strategy at the Department of Business Innovation and Skills. With the MECS project, Nick is one of the international liaison managers where he heads the work with India. So I would invite Dr. Nick to take the session over and invite his panelists.
Thank you, Sheetal. Can you all hear me okay? Great. Okay, well, there's a lot being said about carbon finance, and I find it personally very confusing. So I'm looking forward to the clarity that this session will bring. Here we are in the MECS program, constantly trying to help to make better use of carbon finance as a way of reducing the cost of clean cooking solutions. And Matt will be able to talk you through some of the things that we're doing, but there's more things coming along as we speak. So it's a very much an evolving sector, and you should keep in touch with Finovista and with the MECS newsletter if you want to hear about things as they develop. We have three panelists who will introduce their topics of expertise, and then we'll hopefully have some time for some discussion. As Sheetal said, there's some questions that are coming through. And do introduce yourselves in the chat, and then you can connect with others and build the network that we all benefit from. It's an increasingly international community that we're forming. The first speaker is Professor Matt Leach. He is an independent consultant, but working with the MECS program via the GAMOS consultancy. He leads our work on a range of modelling and quantitative analysis topics, including the costs of cooking, socioeconomic impacts, and carbon credit methodologies. He helped formulate the gold standard methodology for metered and measured energy cooking devices. Matt has been researching and teaching on low carbon decentralized energy systems since 1995 and is a part-time academic at University of Surrey. He's a chartered engineer with a BEng in mechanical engineering, an MSc in environmental technology and a PhD in energy policy, both from Imperial College, London. And Matt is going to demystify carbon finance for metered devices and talk about the role of different stakeholders in this. Matt, over to you.
Thank you, Nick, very much. I mean, the thing about demystifying is that I think all of the carbon finance area is full of a lot of detail. And I think Dr. Dubé has just given us a really good run through and indicating that there's a lot of formality to the process that needs to be followed. I don't actually think that this particular metered methodology is any more mysterious than the other ones which exist in the stable with Gold Standard or the other verification agencies. But it's got a few features which are a little bit different. MECS has worked with Gold Standard, but also with climate impact partners since the first idea of the development of a metered and measured methodology back in, I guess it was 2020 when the first idea came through. And so we're really pleased to have been part of that. The two key challenges, I think, for carbon offset projects have been the concerns to have a really accurate methodology, so high integrity of your carbon credits, and B, the high cost of developing projects with good integrity. So what's different about the metered methodology? I mean, Dr. Dubé has just given you a really good review of the details of it, but just trying to pick out a few features that might be different. Well, the idea is it's using real, normally digital data that's coming from the usage of the appliance. So you get really accurate evidence about the use of that appliance and hence high integrity of the carbon credits that flow. But the use of the digital data also helps reduce some of the processes and the cost of those processes. So it's that kind of win-win that it's really looking for. It uses the real data, so almost all of the devices need to be metered or measuring fuel use. That helps you to avoid some of the processes you normally need to do for baseline setting, where you need to research cooking that's done by your recipient households and form that baseline. Well, you avoid some of the need for that because you've got real digital data on usage of the project device, and by looking at the relative efficiency of that device to the baseline device, you can infer how much baseline fuel use you are avoiding by having that project as device. And the other feature I would really highlight is that the metered methodology is absolutely designed to support the most efficient modern energy cooking devices that are coming through, in particular electric pressure cookers, but also induction stoves, which I know are very important in the Indian market. And I find the kind of comments on the methodology. We were delighted recently that the University of California at Berkeley have recently done a review of all of the clean cooking methodologies in the carbon space, and they unfortunately found that there was a lot of overclaiming of credits. You know, people who were claiming more credits than Berkeley felt were due, but they identified the metered methodology as being by far the most accurate of all the methodologies, and they were full of praise for it. rather than singing the praise of the methodology, I mean, Nick, you asked kind of who is involved, who are the real key people involved in the process, and Dr. Dubé kind of gave you a lot of the process detail. But just to kind of help people who want to get into this a little bit more, just to kind of highlight some of the key people who need to be involved. So cooks and the traditional users of stoves and fuels and other stakeholders on the ground absolutely need to be involved, as they would be for any kind of project. There's a project developer, either with their own clean cook stove or partnering with people who have that technology. And that kind of cook stove either needs inbuilt metering, or you need a partner who's going to add that metering, or you can also do it with measuring fuel use. But I think mostly people are using this for metered devices. You would then normally have a consultant that you would work with to help you develop the necessary documentation, because as you heard, there's quite a lot of steps to that. But I would really highlight that the gold standard issue on their website, there is a really fantastic spreadsheet calculator, which actually helps look through and develop the details of your calculation and guides you very well on some of the assumptions that need to be made on key parameters for the calculations of your carbon credits. Then there's going to be a third-party validator that you as a developer would actually choose from a set of accredited validation and verification bodies, and you pay for that validation process as well. And then finally, there's Sustain Cert and Gold Standard, who are ultimately are approving what comes through. So those are the key 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of organizations, I would say, who tend to be involved in these projects. And the roles and responsibilities are all then very carefully listed in the methodology, and we can talk more about that in questions perhaps. So I'll leave it there for now.
Oh, fantastic. I like to see a panelist who keeps to time. Well done. Thanks, Matt. Okay, our next panelist is Mr. Rohit Kumar, who is the Secretary General of the Carbon Markets Association of India. So very well placed to speak about carbon markets in India. But he also works at Eki Energy as the Vice President of Marketing and Sales. Rohit has 20 years of experience in industry relationships, policy development, advocacy, and many other areas. And he's been at the forefront of a range of high-value programs and launches through various B2B, B2C, and B2G initiatives. And Mr. Kumar is going to give us an overview of the Indian carbon market with a focus on clean cooking, in particular offering insights on carbon investors and other buyers. Mr. Kumar, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll just share the presentation for all of you. So hope you're able to see this presentation.
Yes, it is visible.
So, so thank you very much for giving us a time and opportunity to present about Indian carbon market. We'll talk about the 4 areas in the presentation, starting from carbon market registration, what we are doing, quick brief, because we are working closely for a lot of policy development in this country regarding Article 6.2 and 6.4. Second, we will discuss about the overview of Indian carbon market, and then we'll discuss about clean cooking device. There are multiple devices we have introduced in India, like one is biomass device, second is induction, third is solar device. Solar cooking device is also coming in the market. And fourth is about the insights of the carbon investors and buyers. So I will quickly go through what carbon market registration of India is. So we actually work in all the stakeholders and ecosystem of developing carbon market and policy in this country. We understand that a large number of policymakers and MSME, FPOs, think tank, and all the organization has to come to the main forum and main platform. So we are happily collaborating with all stakeholders, possibility for developing a very holistic market to generate a large number of carbon finance for all the sustainable projects happening in this country. We have a global reach with the help of our partner and associate like Eki Energy and other players. So most of the continent, like developed nation, developing and least developed country, in all 3 domains, we are well present. We understand our role and responsibility as a carbon credit offset supplier developer. So we play this very critical role, and India is coming in the transition stage, developing new carbon market, new carbon policy. So we are here to assist and do policy advocacy in terms of for the industry wise, for beneficiary wise, we are presenting to government so that this market should be not only offsetting the carbon emission, but also helping industry to go further. These are the basic 4 areas we work about the policy, project identification. So when we do any carbon offset project like clean cooking projects, we plan and conceptualize well in advance so that projects should meet all the parameters respective to mechanism like GS or VCS mechanism, globally well-established mechanism in terms of clean cooking device project. Then we also help industry to offset the carbon decarbonization roadmap and offset plan, knowledge sharing, global and Indian standard. We also provide carbon finance to the companies and organizations with the help of their member and policy support to the government. Currently, we are a stakeholder for Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, Ministry of Power, Renewable Energy, and Niti Aayog as a member for CCS committee. So we have collaborated in Bhutan. We are developing few projects in Bhutan for clean cooking, and hopefully it will be implemented soon. We are already working in Nepal for various projects. For Africa is a destination for carbon policy and carbon market. We are well present in Ghana, Kenya, Ghana, Malawi, and other part of Africa. We are collaborating with the Korean Republic of Korea for technology transfer so that we can get more and more technology as per Article 6.2 to this country and help to mitigate the GHG mitigation. So now about the Indian carbon market overview. As we all know that climate change is happening, I will skip these slides. We know that climate change is happening because of industrial growth, energy consumption. Because if you reduce the energy consumption, we can actually save 40% of the global energy. So this events recently happened in Delhi, and we realized that how energy consumption can be accelerated across sectors. And finally, all of this activity is actually increasing the greenhouse gas emissions, and global warming is happening. We know that carbon credit is a tradable asset. When we get 1 ton of carbon dioxide emission or reduction, we get 1 credit, and it really helps organization to lower their carbon footprint and achieve the carbon neutrality target. We all of us know that about the Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement, that how the entire world has united for fight the climate change. Then the CDM mechanism developed during Kyoto Protocol, where a large number of countries, like 192 parties in the Kyoto Protocol, has signed the treaty. Paris Agreement is where 195 nations has agreed to work together for climate change, and they've signed this treaty in 2015. There are 2 kinds of carbon market existing in this country. One is that a carbon credit market. One is compliance-based market, and second is voluntary market. We all know that compliance-based market is CDM, is a clean development mechanism, which is now revamping, and very soon it will be a new CDM will come to develop various projects in across sectors. And the voluntary market, we have Global Carbon Council, which is Qatar-based. VCS is the US-based mechanism, and gold standard is the Switzerland-based mechanism. We also have IREX certification program, which is International Renewable Energy Certificate. So there are various mechanisms, and there are various tools where we can actually get the carbon credit and offset ourselves. And we have already discussed about, Mr. Dubey and told about that, what are the different processes so that we can register the project. I will just clarify, these are the steps actually. And where first step is that understanding the client and developing the project requirement. Suppose we are developing carbon credit for some of the village remote area where the people are using biomass cooking device right now. So we identify the beneficiaries, and then we implement the project there, creating the project document, then list the project. And after listing the project, the third party auditor came in the picture. They register the project and they do the verification. We issue the credit, then we trade the credit. So we handle entire end-to-end cycle for entire cycle and project management process. This is regarding the clean cooking device. We understand that we all discussed about the UN SDG goal. So we really understand that clean cooking projects are really most attractive projects, which is meeting the large number of SDG goal right now. And this project is definitely going to help communities, not only in terms of getting carbon credit parameters, but also various other benefits as a SDG goal. We meet more than 10 SDG goals in these projects, in some of the projects. We'll discuss in the next slide. And we understand that there are 2.7 billion people are using firewood, and this is causing 2 to 3% global emission right now. So this project is really important, and it is benefiting a large society. There are 123 billion cost is a health cost because of these kind of lung disease and other kind of disease we can see across the world. There are 27% disease are pneumonia, 18% are the stroke, 27% are the heart disease, all of because of this smoke and carbon emissions and firewood consumptions is happening in the world. So this is the this picture is actually in the daytime picture. You can see that how the life is full of smoke. And this picture is some of the Nepal village. So we realize that how the life as people are struggling because of non-clean cooking device, and how the life can be changed because of these prestigious projects. And why cook stove? So because it really helping to help the 3 billion people are globally using biomass, 30 to 35% wood wastage happening. And safety is really big concern. Fire, sometimes the forest fire is also happening. And efficiency makes the larger cook food. And also infant mortality decreasing because housewife is really cooking food and children are around with the housewife. So this is helping all 360-degree perspective to the household. This is the device we actually made after, and it's also recognized approved by IT Delhi. And this device is actually meeting all those parameters which we discussed about, the gold standard parameter or voluntary carbon market standard parameter. This device we have already distributed 2 million households in India, and our target is 1 million households in Africa, which is Ghana, Kenya, Malawi we are doing. So idea is that how this device we are distributing, we have a manufacturing plant in Pune and Indore, and we distribute it to the end beneficiaries. After getting the research, we find out the real beneficiaries. Then we provide this to real beneficiaries after doing awareness drive and educate them, because it is really difficult to change their habit because they are cooking food in the mud cook stove. So this device is a new device for them, and most of them are indigenous tribes and very poor people. So this is a very tough task for us to educate them and empower them. And after that, we monitor them as per the required mechanism like Vera and gold standard. We get the carbon credit and we offset the project. So we handle end-to-end cycle for this kind of mechanism, and it's really need a good task force. And working with these kind of communities is really a challenge. And so our team is trained accordingly. So this is some of the example for improved cook stove that we understand that we were around 2 lakh. This is a case study for 2 lakh improved cook stove. So 0.2 million improved cook stove. So the execution price and for the buying cook stove and distribution price might be $5 to $40. And total tentative price will be around $8 million. So this is the mechanism. We are already doing it in India. We understand that what is the price and where the price parameters and what are the government policy frameworks requirement need to be followed. So we are handling it successfully in this country and other part of the world. This is the induction cook stove. We have also done some of the case study through some of the methodology. We realized that induction cook stove is not so much profitable because our line is grid line in India. But like in the country like Nepal and Bhutan, where the hydro energy we are using primarily, where you can give 1.5 to 2 credit per induction cook stove per year. This is very interesting analysis, which actually India is working towards right now, that using the solar cook stove, and this is recently developed by Indian Oil Corporation. So we realized that the challenge is that it's very extremely costly. It costs around 60,000 Indian rupee, 50 to 60,000 Indian rupees. So we are working to develop methodology, or we are working to develop that how much carbon credit this can be generated. So we realize that it can generate 8 to 10 carbon credit per annum per household. So it will meet to 7 to 8 years is a timeline. We are expecting that it will meet the break even. So all these projects are really interesting and fantastic in terms of meeting the break even parameters and profitability also. So as we discussed that it is meeting large number of SDG goals. Some of the projects we are very interesting. We are doing some part of India where we are also, apart from providing the cook stove, we are also giving them training and skilling, because women have some spare time because she is spending 3 to 5 hours time for collection of the food. But in case she is collecting 40% lesser wood, she will save 1 or 2 hours. So we are also planning to do some skilling and training program, and it will meet one more SDG goal. So that will really give them transformation and livelihood of their houses. So we understand that how these projects can help in 3 dimensions: environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and economic sustainability. All 3 parameters is meeting this requirement. And finally, these projects, such kind of projects are actually gives the profitability on sustainability. So this is a fantastic projects. We really invite corporates and industry to come and join. This is the project roadmap, what we are doing right now. We are in most of the states like Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and eastern part of UP, Bihar, Assam. We already implemented 2 million, distributed 2 million cook stove. And in Africa, we are working in Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi right now. We are adding a few more countries like Nigeria. We are in talks. And this is the golden opportunity for many organizations to associate. It is not only giving the brand value, it is also helping them to meet the SDG goal, while also spending some of the CSR budget in the right place, because those credit they can use for the offsetting of their project, even if they are not able to sell it, but at least they can offset, and also give the brand reputations. And these are some of the carbon credit investor. This we have taken some of the important newspaper clippings. We understand
can I ask you to? We need to be nearly finishing, so thank you. Carry on.
Yeah, take 1 minute. 1 minute. I'll take this. Yeah. So this happened in Singapore. For companies are investing in India. Also, some global banks are investing in India. So India is a hub for clean cooking device distribution, because more than 6 crore households in India is doing clean cook using biomass consumption right now. And these are some of the companies are buying this carbon credit frequently. We are in touch with them. And these are the members of our Carbon Market Association of India. They're made. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. That's really a very wide-ranging discussion, so we had a lot to cover, I understand. Okay, our last panelist is Ms. Sneektha Verma. I hope I pronounced that correctly. She is overseeing the carbon credit asset creation and monetization at Convergence Energy Systems Limited, CESL. CESL is a venture of the Ministry of Power, Government of India, mandated to aggregate demand and provide infrastructure for electric mobility at the national level. Ms. Verma brings over 12 years of global as well as grassroots experience. She started her career with the World Bank Group in Washington, D.C., before moving to rural India. She then served the solar mamas at the Barefoot College, where illiterate women from 50 or more countries are offered residential training on assembling whole light systems and solar products. Would love to get in touch with the Barefoot College if you can introduce, because I think they could have a key role in helping to support transitions to clean cooking. And finally, Ms. Verma graduated with a Master's of Science in Public Policy from Carnegie Mellon University, Pennsylvania in 2010. Ms. Verma, over to you. And you're going to talk to us about the implementation of carbon finance supported projects at scale in the Indian landscape, because you've got a range of experience of that. Thank you.
I hope I can do justice to that. Thank you so much for organizing this event today. It's been a great learning experience. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes,
okay.
you are.
Okay, thanks a lot. So I thought it would be good for me to share our journey as at CSL in carbon financing, and to begin with, 2 years ago, I don't think we had a lot of experience, and not too many people within the organization knew how to go about this. So we're sort of, but within 2 years, I think we've been able to launch programs, implement them, complete their registrations. We now, in fact, for one of our programs, have the carbon credits being issued to us. So this journey of the last 2 years has been a huge learning experience and a very rewarding experience as well for us. So any organization representatives here considering exploring this as an addition, as a financing opportunity for their remote programs could definitely I would recommend looking into carbon financing, especially currently with the market sort of going into another. A lot of it's becoming more mature, and the methodologies are being revised. So there's a lot of scope for genuine grassroots projects to look into carbon financing. I'll keep it brief. I'll talk a little bit about our program, which is the Gram Ujala program. The concept was to distribute LED bulbs at rural last mile villages and replace their ICL bulbs and in turn give LED bulbs. And then for 10 years, we're tracking their usage of those bulbs and calculating the emission reduction. And that's how we're sort of generating the carbon credits through Vera carbon markets in the case of this project. And that's a project that through which we have implemented in 5 states. We have distributed 10 million bulbs in rural areas, and we have in fact completed the first cycle of carbon credits, and the credits are going to be issued to us in a matter of a few weeks or so. So that was indeed like a journey at scale, and being a government initiative, we were able to provide, we had that access across these across rural communities, across the stakeholders in the government, at the state level, and of course at the government level, at the Ministry of Power and at the Government of India level. So that sort of helped us in doing the implementation. And the way we brought in carbon financing is that the entire cost of the bulbs being procured and the distribution cost and all of that came to about $2 or so per bulb, and that was being covered through carbon financing. And we were only recovering about 10 rupees, which is about a couple of cents from from the villagers. So in a way, this entire program is primarily being funded through carbon financing. So that's the concept that we brought in for a small scale bulb, for an LED bulb. We brought in carbon financing to pretty much fund the entire program almost. I mean, we are keeping fingers crossed. And so that was where sort of our journey started with carbon financing. After that, we are also registering our one of our projects on electric mobility. And I thought I would bring it up because Mr. Dubey talked about monitoring and MRV systems. And I thought it would be good to mention that we have tried to build in our EV charging uh, a live tracking of the chargers, which tells us the energy utilization along with the location and timing and so on. And we're using that database not just for our operations management, but are also submitting those reports as part of our verification to the third party auditors, which in turn will, sort of helps in quantifying the credits that are going to be generated from that. And what we are estimating based on the real data we have for the last 3 years, there's not as much of a gap between what we had estimated when we made the project document to what the actual utilization was in the last 3 years. So there's not as much leakage. We've been able to track we've been able to optimize the services we are providing through the charging systems. So that's again another usage of technology to make the most of the carbon credit opportunity. So that's sort of something I thought I'd mention. And then based on the learnings we've had and the sort of success we've been able to have, we've been able to convince more stakeholders, the decision-making stakeholders, that okay, that maybe we should look into carbon financing. And our parent company ESL has in fact recently launched an solar-based induction cook stove program, which the MECS team certainly knows about. And that again is a program that is using blended financing, including subsidies from the government as well as carbon financing, by which we will be able to bring down the cost to almost negligible cost for the final user at the last mile. So again, though, that's another interesting opportunity that carbon financing is being able to provide to us. That is to bring down the cost of operations at scale, and to be able to reach the last mile and sort of meet those SDGs and be able to monetize the work that we as a government agency are able to do. Are doing anyway, but we are able to track it, monetize it, and are also able to document the process very well, which is also a good learning opportunity for us at CSL. So I thought I would share this more as a case study for the journey of a company in exploring carbon financing and then sort of being at the point of being able to benefit from it.
Fantastic. No, that is really helpful. It's nothing like hearing from someone who's doing something similar to kind of get a sense of the particular challenges that you're facing. Okay, well, thank you for that. We've had quite a few questions coming through in the chat. I think some of them have already been answered in the chat, which is great. So that's good. And we've got some questions that are kind of relatively detailed. So what I'm just going to do because we've got 5 more minutes, is go through the questions that I've spotted and see if anyone who's on the panel would like to offer an answer or a comment in response to those. But if the answer has already been given, then I think we can just move on. So there's one question about how quality is defined in reference to it is getting dampened. I didn't follow what that's a reference to, but maybe Lokesh could respond to that. There's a question about metered biomass stoves with an SUMS temp sensor, another technical term that I'm not familiar with. How to calculate the baseline emissions for various different fuels. I think that was answered. There was a question about the spreadsheet, and that's I think Matt gave a link to that. And then estimates of the CER generated from solar cooking and potential CER and value per CER. Again, not terms I'm particularly expert with, but would anyone like to put a hand up or offer to kind of comment on any of those questions? The explanation. Lokesh mentioned dampen, so it's Lokesh maybe.
Yeah, I can pick the first one, which is on quality of carbon credits. So see, the quality of carbon credits could there is no fixed quality criteria for carbon credits. It is more like a perceived value of a carbon credit which fetches a better price in the market. So any attribute that fetches a better price in the market becomes a quality criterion. What could be visible quality criterion could be the vintage of credits, could be the robustness of your MRV, could be your the standard which you follow. Have those standards taken into account the potential negative impacts that might come from the activity, and so on. So these all are kind of quality criteria. So I would just pick one of them is the robust MRV. So robust MRV is checked to the provisions of the governing standard and the audit standard, which is the methodology. So methodologies always have strict provisions of particular measurement or monitoring of all monitoring parameters, but it also gives the flexibility for certain situations of deviating from the standard monitoring techniques. So given the methodology which we just talked about, which is based on measured and metered energy, there is a fair level of robustness that comes into the overall MRV setup of the cooking devices. So I would not go into much detail of how the subjectivity creeps in and how uncertainties creep in, how to account for uncertainties, how the survey results can influence the emission reductions and so on. There are multiple parameters and multiple ways on which the uncertainties creep in into the emission reduction. So our job is to keep the uncertainties as low as possible by design, but then there are always uncertainties which would come because of factors which are beyond our control, and for that we have to always improve the systems. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, there's more questions coming through, and we're not going to be able to get to them all. I'm afraid I've got to leave very shortly, and I know colleagues do as well. But the chat, I think, will exist in the cloud for a while. If you're sort of logged into this, you should be able to see the chat, and people can type in answers and respond to questions and keep the conversation going. If anyone wants to offer their services as a professional or an expert in this, put your contact details on there and people can reach out to you. There's a lot of practical questions about, what it costs to set up a project. At what point do you kind of register it in the process? I know MECS is looking to develop some quite practical guidance on how you set all this kind of thing up. So again, get on our mailing list if you're not already on there, and hopefully we will be providing some answers. But there's obviously the landscape in India is changing with its own carbon markets being established. I'm not sure what the timescale is for that. And obviously we don't know all the details at this stage. Vimal, do you want to make a quick comment about that? Maybe
Yeah.
not.
Thank you, Nick. And as we know, the India is actually moving forward drastically in last few months on the clean cooking side, and predominantly India is trying to work on the solar cooking and electric cooking. All the large players, even the carbon project investors, the carbon buyers and all are actually jumping in the sector. And coming to the specific that yes, national government has also picked up the priority. EESL is actually working a lot. They have created a separate division, and then but the BE and other agencies are actually working. And since this it is very relevant as the solar devices cost is very high. So how to make a affordable device, and how much carbon can actually play the role. And every day we are hearing this question, and we are trying to answer that. Yeah,
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much, everyone. It's been a great session. Hopefully those who've been listening have found it helpful. And I guess the number of questions is a sign that people are genuinely keen to understand this and to move forward with it. So we'll look forward to. So there's a question about the recording. Is that available on YouTube? I think MECS has a channel where our videos are stored. Vimal, is that the best way to direct people at this point?
Yes, so these recordings will be available very shortly. It will be available in the MECS channel, even the Finovista channel also. And you can able to hear about the recordings, and we have also created as on a MECS a complete page. So all the previous recordings are also listed there. So that is the one that the delegates can actually get benefit of that. Number one. Number two, we have created a one WhatsApp group where that we normally do the lot of discussion chat and all around the clean cooking. It's a very innovative and interactive platform where we request that people can join and then have the real discussion. So some of the chat can be also discussed over there, and we can get the answer on the real time basis. So that is the another platform which help. And then third is that we have also our ID, where if you want, you can write to us and we can able to try to solve these queries, and we can provide as much as informations available.
Great. Yeah, so we're doing as much as we can, but it's an exciting area. Thank you very much, everyone. Speak to you all soon. Thanks to the panelists.
Thank you all panelists, Nick. Yeah, thank you.